Hello. Well, between the title and blah blah blah. This video is going to be the third in the Sailor Scout Devil Fruit little series that I'm doing. Today we are going to be talking about Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune. And then next video will be Pluto and Saturn, and then Sailor Moon, Sailor Mini Moon, and Tuxedo Mask will be the final one in the series. So the background for today has the Sailor Moon manga with Sailor Uranus on the cover, the One Piece manga that is volume number 57 that has Whitebeard on the cover, from the Marineford War arc, yeah. And we have, I can never remember if this is Hakomo or Jangmo. That's this one. I think it's Hakomo. This is the mini one because Uranus is a fighter as well. She's very good at physical combat and she's very strong, which I'll go over in this. And then, of course, we have Sailor Neptune's manga cover from the manga. We have Poplio because she is one of those Sailor Scouts of Water. And then we have volume number 62. I don't have a manga cover that has one of the main devil fruits that I would give her, mainly just because of the fact that I don't have that manga yet. I'll go over which one that is when I get to that power specifically. But again, because of water, I have volume number 62 back here. That is has the Fishman Island arc in it, part of the Fishman Island arc. I don't know if I'll have what I have specific manga covers for some of the other ones, but we'll see. First, we are going to talk about Sailor Uranus, Amara Tenho, or Tenho Haruka. Sailor Uranus, very powerful. Her and Sailor Neptune come into play in season 3 is when they are introduced. And just, slight background, at the beginning of the season, we're not 100% sure if they're allies of the Sailor Scouts or if they're enemies of the Sailor Scouts, because they'll work with them, but they also kind of want the same thing that the bad guys are trying to get. They're looking for the same thing. So we, of course, have Haruka's or Amara's power. I'll probably go back and forth between Uranus and Amara and Haruka, just all over the place with that. So her symbols, planet Uranus, which is Uranus, which references back to the Roman/Greek god of the sky, which is weird because Amara's power seems to be more earth-based to a degree. But she's also physically strong, as I said. She tends to cause quakes. Quakes and type things are the basis for some of her attacks, which I'm sure that you can kind of guess where that's going for one of the devil fruits and why there's a Whitebeard manga over here. But then she also has a sword that she uses that is just her space sword or saber, the saber of Uranus, whichever you want to refer to it as. She uses this, gets it partway through the third season, and then she uses it particularly throughout the manga. A bit more throughout the manga than in the anime, but they're not after season 3, they're not very prominent until you get back to season 5, and even then for the outer Sailor Scouts. But her attacks are, she has her Uranus World Shaky, which is just, she gathers up a large amount of, I'm assuming it's just energy that she gathers up around her hand, and then she slams it into the ground, and it releases this earthquake type thing that then hurts the opponent. It can cause quite a bit of damage, and this is why I say that her power more involves quakes as opposed to the sky, because Uranus was the god of the sky, but in this case it transfers into her having the ability to cause earthquakes. And then her other attack is Space Sword Buster. It's just basically she uses the sword to, destroy the opponent or the opponent's weapon or block the attack or whatever. She uses that. She is also physically quite strong, just like Sailor Jupiter. She's quite strong. And I will go over the dream and one other aspect of Sailor Uranus, which if you are a Sailor Moon fan and you have read the manga and you've seen Crystal, and I think they bring this into play in the redubbing of the original stuff. Um, I will go over that, but that's when I specifically get to that devil fruit. You'll notice that there's one specific thing about Uranus and Neptune that I have not yet mentioned, and I will get to that. And for those of you that don't know, you will find out. So, first we're going to go with kind of what goes for some of the devil fruits. So the first devil fruit that I would give her is the Gura Gura no Mi, or the Tremor Tremor, or the Quake Quake, whichever one you refer to it as, fruit that Whitebeard has. Whitebeard, of course, it's been stated that this is a paramecia. It could be the strongest devil fruit in the world, given the fact of what it can affect. Whitebeard can use it to cause earthquakes and tsunamis. He basically readjusts the entire, bedstone of Marineford during that war, during that giant battle. Causes so many problems with that, causes giant tidal waves that come in, and he's very adept with his devil fruit. We don't know exactly when he got his devil fruit, but given the fact of, he's had it at least as long as, since before Roger died, which would put it at least, 27 years, maybe, 24 to 27 years at least. But I'm pretty sure that he had that devil fruit like way back when he was on like Rox's crew. So he's had that for a long time. Uranus would be able to use this quite well, I would say, considering that one of her main powers is her attacks is, of course, the Uranus World Shaky. She would be able to use it quite well in regards to, causing earthquakes around her, being able to rearrange the battlefield, to help her and the other Sailor Scouts. They do end up becoming allies of the Scouts later on, but it just takes a while, of Serena's group. But, she'd be able to use that to help rearrange that, or she can use it to, like Whitebeard does, make hills and valleys and everything with, causing all the quakes. Use it to maybe, cause something to come up to block an attack that's coming towards one of the other Sailor Scouts or towards herself. It is a paramecia, but it's, we know that the Tremor fruit is not necessarily, oh, I can just manipulate the earth and do whatever I want it to. I would put that probably more under the dominion of like someone who would have a paramecia that may specifically affect being able to like mold the ground, or a Logia that would be able to like mold the ground. But we haven't been introduced to one of those specifically yet. We have Caribou, but that's swamp, and that's a bit different. That's mud and swamp, and that's just different. In the case of Uranus, her being able to, rearrange the ground, cause tremors and such like that, like what Whitebeard does, would probably be pretty similar. As I said, she's also quite physically strong, so she would probably be able to, use that to its max ability. I wouldn't say that she's physically as strong as Whitebeard, but she is definitely I do believe she is the second physically strongest of all the Sailor Scouts, with Jupiter being the strongest, as I mentioned in the previous video. In regards to her sword, the devil fruit that I gave her in regards to that, and I mentioned this back with Sailor Jupiter, was the Supa Supa no Mi, or the Supa Supa no Mi, the dice fruit that, Daz Bones, Mr. One, has. I did mention this in Jupiter's video that kind of because of her wanting to be a chef, this kind of would work for her, but I would put it more under Uranus simply just because of the fact of it does involve blades, and Jupiter doesn't really use blades in regards to fighting. Uranus does because of her sword. So I would more put that into her domain for that, which I just think would work a little bit better for her. She probably wouldn't be quite as deadly with it as Daz Bones is, but she would definitely still be rather adept with using it. I don't know if Jupiter has, or if Uranus has any sword training in her past, but she might have. I don't know. We don't know that much. In Sailor Moon, we don't know that much about like specifically what happened during the Silver Millennium. We know that the outer scouts weren't near the inner scouts very often, that it was their job to protect from incoming threats from the outside. and they weren't around the princess and her main guard very often, so they probably spent a fair amount of time training. um and maybe, she had her sword during that time frame, so she may have used that in regards to training with her sword to be able to protect, do her duty, as would Neptune and Pluto. And I'll get to Saturn in the next video when I talk about Pluto and Saturn, and as to why Saturn may not have been the most liked of the Sailor Scouts, or at least at that time. And then we move into, so we're going to do Amara's dream first, then we'll do the other thing that I haven't mentioned yet. So Amara's dream is she wants to become a world champion racer. And there's not really any devil fruits that deal with race cars. There's that stupid cart fruit from like the mining arc, mini arc, filler arc that they did that ties into Film Gold. But that's about the closest thing I think that we've seen, since there's not really cars in One Piece. There wouldn't be a devil fruit that allow you to, oh, I can turn into a car. Or like you have like a dog or an animal or something like that, they did like the car fruit, or the, the mobile, whatever fruit. Now I can turn into a Ferrari. That would be an interesting devil fruit. The problem is that wouldn't be a Zoan type devil fruit, because cars are not animals. So it would have to be a Paramecia type devil fruit, But I'm not 100% sure how that would work. That would be a very interesting devil fruit. That would definitely be just like a joke devil fruit. What's your devil fruit? Well, I don't have one, but my dog has one. What does it do? It turns into a Ferrari. People in the One Piece world, what's a Ferrari? Well, it's a car. What's a car? It's like a giant, cart carriage type thing that goes a lot faster and doesn't need horses. That sounds cool. Frankie interacting with a Ferrari or a Maserati or like any type of a car. Frankie would just be like, "What the frick is this?" And then he would just want to take the entire thing apart and then put it back together, just to see how it would work, and then he'd probably like soup it up and add lasers, which I would kind of be okay with. Um, um, and now we're gonna get to the other devil fruit that I would give to Uranus. I guess kind of like the Gasha no Mi that Bullet has might kind of work for that. I mentioned that a little bit with Sailor Mercury, but I guess it would be a little bit more appropriate for Neptune, because she does seem to take care of a lot of the maintenance on her own car. She has several cars, and she also has a motorcycle that she uses, that we see her in several times. She also very much likes track. Amara likes going fast, and that kind of comes from the fact of like her wanting to like outrun her past, outrun her destiny. She thinks if she used to think that if she could go fast enough, that she would be able to outrun it, which is ironic because her least favorite subject, I think, was physical education, was PE, but she was like a track star, like when she was in high school and middle school and such. But it's just like, okay. Then again, her and Neptune kind of have to go through like high school twice because they go undercover. So that's just a whole other point of arc in the story, that doesn't really have much bearing on this. But the final one that I would give to her is the Horu no Mi, or the Horm fruit that, Emporio Ivankov has. This is because Sailor Uranus, and if you're not a Sailor Moon fan and you don't know this, Sailor Uranus is a hermaphrodite. Stated in the manga, stated in the original anime, not the English dub. I think it's stated in the original anime in Japanese. And then they had to like, oh no, we can't have that on American television. Kids are not gonna understand what that is. Also, Uranus and Neptune are in love and in a relationship, and they're both women, and that caused some problems with American television. But they're like, well, we can't edit them out of the season, because they're very, very crucial to the season. So we'll just make them cousins that are very close and affectionate toward each other. Which, like, as a kid, I didn't pick that up as a kid. But then, it's like when I'm older, I'm like, Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah, no, I can see that now. They play on it a little bit in the, in the original English dub, but I think in the redubs that they did for the 20th anniversary and in Crystal, definitely they don't play that up. They don't try to hide it. It's there. They blatantly stated at one point when Uranus and Neptune, and I think Pluto, well, Pluto was kind of already new to the Sailor Scouts, but Uranus and Neptune, when they're fully introduced to the Sailor Scouts, they explain that Uranus, Mara, Haruka, has the features of both genders. And actually, I think it's both in the manga and in the anime. The first time that the Sailor Scouts meet Haruka, as when they're not as Sailor Scouts, but when they first meet her, when they first show up, they think that she is a guy. Because she does tend to dress like a guy a fair amount of the time. She'll wear kind of suit jackets and long pants and everything like a guy would wear, and kind of just gives off that air. But then she will also show up and she can be in more not flirty outfits by any means, but just a little bit more feminine outfits. But she will, Amara will kind of go back and forth a little bit. She's stated to have the features of both sexes and has the strength of both sexes. And that's, when you're a kid, as you're, if you're a kid here in America, when they first showed that, it's like they didn't go into that. You just thought that Amara was strong and sometimes dressed like a boy. And then later on, when I read the manga and I saw that part, I'm like, oh, no, no, yeah, no, I can see where that comes into play. And then, certain things make a little more sense, particularly for her relationship with Neptune, in regards to that. But I mean, like, nowadays I don't have a problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem with that being on like television now, if like that'd be fine by me. Uranus even at various points in times kind of flirts with Serenity a little bit, and even asks if it's a problem, if it doesn't matter if she's male or female, because they interact a little bit in and out of being Sailor Scouts with the other Sailor Scouts. But that would be the reason why I would give Amara the Horum Horum no Mi, the Horum Horum fruit from Ivanka, because Ivanka, that allows Ivanka to change her gender, his gender, back and forth. We have the regular version of Ivankov, and then we have the female version, which Sanji, of course, had a crush on for a little while until it figured out, oh my god, you're a dude. Until Sanji's like, oh, frick, you're a dude. Why is it the hot girl on the island is a dude? Sanji would be very confused by Amara, and then she would probably kick his butt. You're pretty, but I am so confused. In regards to Amara, for where, okay, I'll do Amara and Michelle where they would fall in the One Piece universe after I talk about Neptune. So now we're going to talk about Neptune. So Sailor Neptune, Michelle Kaiho, or Keiho Michiru. I'll probably switch back and forth between Michelle and Neptune. Just because I'm more used to the English names that they did for the original English dub. That doesn't mean that I don't like the Japanese names, just that's more what I'm used to referring to them as. So her power set, she is of course Sailor Neptune, therefore she is based off of the planet Neptune, which is derived, is based off the god Neptune from Roman mythology, who is the counterpart to Poseidon in Greek mythology. And that leads into Amara, or Michelle, being a representation of the ocean. Her power set is very much water-based, a bit more water-based than what Sailor Mercury has. And so those are what she tends to represent. She's also quite smart. I mean, Amara is quite smart as well. And her main attack that she uses is Neptune Deep Submerge, which, like Uranus, she gathers up a large amount of, it's actually water energy in her case, around her fists, and then she sends it out. I guess it would maybe like a ki blast or something like that. I don't watch Dragon Ball, but maybe like a ki blast or something like that. But she sends out the power that way, and it, attacks the opponent. kind of, I wouldn't say drowns them, but it definitely causes them quite a bit of a problem in regards to that. And her and Neptune can come, her and Neptune and Uranus can combine their attacks into one. I don't remember specifically what it's called, but it does cause quite a bit of damage by like shaking and kind of drowning the opponent at the same time, which would cause quite a bit of problems, I would say. Like Amara, Michelle has a weapon. It is a mirror that she has. It's just called the mirror, the Neptune mirror, or something along those lines. I don't remember if it specifically has a specific name off the top of my head, but she uses that for an attack called submarine reflection, which she tends to use it against the opponents. It kind of works in tandem with Neptune, with Uranus's sword, or with other Sailor Scouts. She can use it to show the opponent's weakness, like, oh, if you destroy this weapon, then they'll disappear, or if you attack this weak point on them, then that, or this weak point on like the giant villain or whatever that you're fighting, it'll cause the villain to stumble, and then you can get in a better attack the other way, that way. And she can also use it to, it kind of allows her to see inside of the minds of people around her. And she uses this attack more in tandem with Neptune, of course. Be able to see inside of the opponent's minds, or see inside of the minds of even their allies. She kind of uses it, I think she uses it as a way for them to track down where Serena and the other Sailor Scouts are. Because they're in the anime, they kind of switch it up. They're looking for specific items that actually end up being the fact that they were looking for their mirror and their saber, and they just hadn't had access to them yet because they were like inside of them. Which, if you actually watch the original anime, that makes a little bit more sense. If you've only read Crystal, if you've only read the manga, or if you've only seen Crystal, then they have like their saber and their mirror with them from the beginning. It's a bit different that way. But she uses that. So then, in regards to the devil fruits that I would say would work quite well for Neptune, we have, of course, the water devil fruit, the kind of that I mentioned, like back with Mercury, that, since they both deal with water, that type of a devil fruit would be very good. Michelle also loves to swim. She swims quite a bit throughout the anime when we see her, mostly when she's trying to, think and, filter through her own thoughts. She will swim, and Amara will be there just like, they'll talk as she swims back and forth. The two of them kind of also seem to have a little bit of a mental connection to each other, which I don't know if that's just from the fact of part of their bond as lovers, or if it's, a combination of their bond as lovers and them being Sailor Scouts with the same mission. But they're quite good at being able to like read what the other will do. So that would be that. The other one that I gave her, which I mentioned earlier that I don't have the manga that has this character on the cover. I don't even remember if this character ended up being on the cover of a manga. The devil fruit that I'm talking about is the Mira no Mi, the mirror fruit that Charlotte Brûlé uses throughout the course of the, Totland arc, the Whole Cake Island arc, whichever one you want to refer to it as. Brûlé, I feel kind of sorry for Brûlé, given what her and her siblings have gone through. I do kind of feel sorry for some of them. But with what they had to go through with their own mother, with how they grew up and everything. But you can kind of understand why they have so much loyalty to their mother, because she's there. It is kind of, grown into them that they have to be loyal to their mother and loyal to their siblings. She particularly is very loyal to Katakuri, which we see this throughout the arc. All the siblings are loyal to Katakuri for the most part. But the mirror fruit, of course, allows Brûlé to make mirror clones, to trap people inside of her mirror, to put them inside of the Miro world. And I think Neptune would be quite good at being able to use that for similar things. I don't necessarily think she would be, making clones of the other Sailor Scouts, but being able to, make, clones of being able to make clones of the Sailor Scouts to, distract the opponent would probably be a good decision, be a good use of that power. Um, and being able to trap the opponent would not be a bad idea. Trap them in a world where they can't cause as much damage to the outside world. We don't actually know if in regards to like the mirror world, we know that damage in the mirror world beyond like the mirrors breaking doesn't really affect the outside world, but you know, we don't know if like damage that's done in the mirror world is easily repaired. Like, can Brule just like fix it by like wiping her hand over the wall and the mirror and like the busts in the wall, the holes in the wall are now fixed? Or do they actually have to have people from Totland come in and go through and like patch up all the holes, and then it takes a little while for it to heal? We don't know that yet. That I don't know if that's ever been explained in the manga. Like, I don't think it's ever stated that like Brule feels the pain of what the mirrors feel. She doesn't like when the mirrors get smashed, because that's just oh, now we gotta put another mirror to fix that that defensive, and now you gotta break this other mirror. Ugh, you guys are gonna have so much bad luck. It's not even funny at this point in time. Usopp running around in the mirror world trying not to break all the mirrors because he doesn't want any more bad luck would have been hilarious. I kind of want that now. I kind of want Usopp to be like, Usopp has to deal with Brule at some point. I have no idea how this would work. As far as I'm aware, Brule is not part of the group that's in Wano right now. That was in Wano when I made this video. But like Usopp having to run around in the mirror world and just be like, how am I supposed to get out of here without breaking any of these mirrors type thing, because he doesn't want any more bad luck. Because he'd be very pessimistic and very paranoid about that, I would think. But that would just be funny. The other one that I would give Michelle, okay, so there's 3 other ones that I would give Michelle. 2 of them for the same reason. So Michelle's main dream is that she wants to become a violinist, and I'll do that one as her last devil fruit. But her other thing is she is also a very wonderful artist. We see her make a painting in Sailor Moon at one point, and we see sketches that she's done that show, she's very good at she's very artistic in that range. And that's why there are 2 devil fruits that would fit for that. I would say that she would be able to make very good use of. One is the Otto no Mi, that or the art fruit that Giola or Jola, however you want to phrase it, from the Don Quixote Pirates has. The drawing and everything that she's able to do with her making everything into bizarre, weird designs and everything. And Michelle's would definitely be a lot less abstract. Now, I like abstract. I like Picasso. I just don't particularly like Giola, not so much. I wouldn't mind this devil fruit because I like being artist and painting and everything, but I would probably more prefer like a clay type of devil fruit. But that's not either here nor there. But Michelle would be able to be quite good with that as well. I mean, Giola doesn't use it in a bad way. The way that she uses it is quite clever. Trap the opponents, change their weapons so they can't fight back so well. Make it that like the engine for the ship isn't going to work because she like cartoonified it. That those are quite good ways of doing it. I think those are very smart ways of manipulating her devil fruit for that. Her being able to, we see her mostly demonstrate it in an abstract sense. Michelle, I think, would probably go a little bit more towards the classic sense of, not the abstract sense, but the like impressionist or post-impressionistic or realism type things. Is probably more where she would go. So she would be able to still kind of do the same things. I do kind of think that the autonomy kind of based on like what the person who controls it, who ate it, is what they consider art. Like, I'm sure that if Giola wanted to, she could just literally, instead of like trapping them in the weird, bizarre thing that she did, where she's like turning Momo into a peach and Nami and Brooke looks like the Scream, and like whatever, that she could have, if she wanted to, instead of doing it abstract, she could have just like turned them into like a gorgeous masterpiece type painting that looked like it was painted by like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or something like that, and made them look like that instead. The problem with that is that it doesn't really negate their weapons, which is, I think, more where she was trying to head with that. Plus, she thinks that her abstract is beautiful and everything. Abstract in certain cases is perfectly fine. I just tend to be a little bit more towards either impressionistic or post-impressionistic or even realism, depending on certain aspects. Although her doing like a Salvador Dali take on things would have been quite interesting with like melting clocks, have Brooke's guitar like melting over the sunny, or Nam, like Momo turned into like a melting clock, like help. That would have been kind of interesting to do, as opposed to just the abstract, surrealism. Let's try this. We have weird melting clocks all over the sunny now. It's like, Nami, I didn't even know we had this many clocks. That would just be kind of funny. And then also along those lines, there's the other kind of art type devil fruit, the sketching type devil fruit that Conjuro has. Conjuro is a horrible human being, and I do hope that he dies. He's horrible for what he did. He lied to the Kozuki clan for the entire amount of time that they knew him, and then he betrayed them for Orochi, who had done nothing for him beyond give him a weird devil fruit that we still don't know the name of. And he's not dead right now because in the manga there's that fake Odin running around. Or no, they got rid of the fake Odin, but Conjuro is still running around, and they got to take care of him. I do hope he dies. Depending on when this goes up, he might be dead. I don't know. It might go up after we've gotten a chapter where like, oh nope, Conjuro's dead now. Now we're gonna go find whoever this devil fruit can now go to. I would say give that devil fruit to Usopp because we know that Usopp can draw, just like Michelle can draw. Conjuro can draw when we first see him. Of course, he's pretends that he can't draw, and then we find out that no, he can draw very well. He draws the ink clone of himself. He's made the ink clone of Odin now. He's made the ink crane that he's used. So we know that he's actually quite good with drawing. He just pretended to be horrible at drawing the entire time that he knew the Kozuki clan, in order to infiltrate them. Which, I mean, okay, I don't like the guy, but I mean, okay, that I applause for, the long game on that. You gotta at least give him applause for that. You can still hate him, but you gotta give him applause for sticking with his role for so long. And sticking with that habit of, okay, I can't draw very well with my one hand, so I'll draw with that hand. And then if I absolutely need to draw something that needs to be extremely good to send notes or to cause problems, I will send it with draw it with the hand that I can actually draw with. But Michelle would probably be able to do something quite similar to that, although her drawings would be better. Bring them to life and everything. She'd probably make, lots of water flowing at the opponent, or different things that would heighten her own attacks or heighten the attacks of the Sailor Scouts, or even just, maybe drawing out different obstacles to affect the opponent so it makes it harder for them to do. Combining that with like Amara using the Tremor fruit, and then, Michelle using like the sketching or the painting type fruits that affect it. That would make quite an obstacle course for the villain, for like whatever enemy they're going up against, to have to try to get out. Regardless of whether or not it was like Sailor Moon or like pirates in the One Piece world, or even Marines or whatever in the One Piece world. They would be quite good at that, of making like that type of a design element. Also, flip side of that, you could also just turn it into like, okay, Amara is going to rearrange the kind of mess with the landscape a little bit, and then Michelle will go in and paint in all these different things, and then you can turn it into like a party atmosphere, like a festival atmosphere, or have it, it's like you can have it for like a giant party for like kids to have or something like that, which I just think would be kind of a funny, cute thing to happen. We don't see that too many things where it's like people doing like nice things for the kids, because so many of the characters in One Piece that are kids have had horrible backstories. Straw Hat's very much included in that. Well, we don't know about Brooke's childhood. His childhood may have been fine. It's just, everything else. Whale gone, crew dead, trapped in fog for 50 years, shadow taken. But, we don't see that much for, like, people doing, like, fun things for kids. So, like, I think Amara and Michelle would probably, could do something like that. Michelle would do, fun things of, making pictures for the kids with either the sketching or the drawing type stuff, so that way the kids could have something fun to play with, or make like a fun house type of a thing for the kids to go through. I think that would be a fun thing for Amara and Michelle to do. I think the other Sailor Scouts would be perfectly fine with that as well. And you can have Neptune there cooking. We can have Ray there, telling fortunes or banishing evil. We can have, just like all that fun stuff. Mina there being like a model type thing, or like being entertaining. Just like have all of them do like a giant festival type thing. Have all the Sailor Scouts just be like this giant traveling festival type thing. That would be fun. Oh, that would be fun. But okay, and then finally, the final devil fruit that I would give to Michelle. I kind of mentioned this back when I talked about Sailor Mercury, because Mercury likes music. Michelle wants to become a world famous violinist, and she is extremely good at what she does. This is in the manga, this is in the original anime, this is in Crystal. She is an amazing violinist. And so her having the devil fruit that, Scratchman Apu has, or Scratchman, Apu, we don't know what the devil fruit's name is. It's that music type devil fruit or whatever, would be very good for her to have, because she has studied music. She understands how different instruments and different sounds work. And she would probably be able to use it very similar to the way that he does. Maybe not so much in like the attacks for people, using it as attacks against people, but definitely using it to like rouse the troops and motivate the troops, but also using it to he's more on the whole the loud, the noise, the party. She would be able to do a more calming effect, kind of like what Brooke does with his music now, where he can make people fall asleep. She would probably be able to do something like that as well. Use I guess it maybe she turns her arm into a violin and then plays it, maybe. I don't know. We haven't seen Apu do anything like that, but we don't know 100% of the limitations of what type of musical instruments he can tune into. We know we have the piano teeth and the head cymbal and the arm turning into a saxophone type thing, or the drums on his chest, but we don't really know too much else about what kind of string instruments can he perform. Can he turn his arm into a harp, play it like that? We don't know. Michelle would probably be kind of doing some experimenting with that and find that would also go with the festival atmosphere type thing. She can make all these different music and everything, and she could possibly go and play a concert with Brooke. I think Brooke would like that, because Brooke does like classical music, and I'm sure that he would be perfectly happy doing a concert with Amara, or doing a concert with Michelle, where she's there playing her violin or whatever variation of violin she wants to play, and Brooke's got his violin, and they're just just these beautiful serenades. I think that would be fun. That would be fun. I would watch that. That'd be a fun little music video. Of just a fun scene of yeah. My niece plays violin, and she's just gonna be I'm just I really hope I held that the right way. But then I guess kind of we're into the Uranus and Neptune could fall in the One Piece world. They're kind of the lawful neutral is kind of where both of them tend to fall. This is a little more apparent in the original anime, and I think it comes into play in the redub of the original. They're simply trying to find this power so the bad guys can't have it, but it's also their goal to find this power because it will help protect the world type thing. And in their case, I don't know if I would put them as Marines necessarily. They would probably do quite well as Marines. I would think Amara would do very well rising her way through the ranks of the Marines. I don't think Michelle would want to be a Marine. And I don't quite think that they would fall in the line of wanting to be pirates either. Maybe revolutionaries. I don't think that they would like the way that the celestial dragons run the world. And particularly, I don't think if they knew about Im-sama that they would particularly like the way that he does that either. They're okay with people that have proven themselves as good kings and queens, Vivi and her father, or King Neptune down in Fishman Island, or King Riku on Dressrosa. I'm sure that they would be perfectly fine with those types of rulers. But rulers like Wapol, or even the way that Doflamingo was, or other rulers that we've seen like Orochi or Kaido, I don't think that they would particularly care for that with those types of rulers. So they might be kind of the rulers that are more maybe they'd be a little bit closer to people who were sympathizers with the revolutionaries. But I would say that Michelle would want to be a performer and type thing, between her drawings and paintings and with her violin, wanting to be a famous violinist. She would probably be kind of a performer that would travel around, and then Amara would definitely travel with her because they would definitely still be in love. Maybe they would do like a festival type thing, like as I mentioned, like something like all the Sailor Scouts go together somewhere, and they're not a pirate crew, but they're something along the lines of a group of performers and entertainers that do like these festivals on the different islands that they land on. Amara kind of rearranges things. Michelle would like use her drawing or painting powers. If you could have more than one devil fruit type of a thing, Amara would, rearrange everything. And then, yeah, I would put more of the two devil fruits that would specifically work best for Amara would be the tremor fruit and then the hormone type fruit that Ivankov has. And she would like rearrange everything, and then Michelle would have like the music devil fruit and the drawing, painting, water mirror. I would go a little bit more towards the not so much, well, maybe the mirror a little bit, but more towards like the music devil fruit definitely, but then also the painting devil fruit that the autonomy that Giola has, and then like being able to like turn this or the part of the island into like a festival atmosphere after Amara kind of rearranges the ground a little bit just to give them a little bit more fun space to work with, and then like the other Sailor Scouts would be there. Jupiter, Lita would do like all this cooking and everything, and Ray would do all this other priestess type stuff, tell fortunes or things like that. Amy could be there, kind of more just like running to make sure things go smoothly behind the scenes. Mina would be there kind of doing, performing type stuff between singing or doing different, costume performances, as her idol self. And then I'll build on this a little bit more after I might just do like a whole like a mini video or something like that, where it's just like after I've gone through all the devil fruits, it was like this is what they're gonna do. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Big festival, but that so that would be what it is. Mina could like Venus could like sing while Michelle plays, different things like that. That would be a fun thing to have happen. There's not really anything like that happens in One Piece, so it's just like maybe they could do that. They're not pirates, they're not marines, they're not revolutionaries, they're performers. So that's what I got for this. A little bit longer than the other three, or the other two have been, but we'll see what happens. I don't know exactly. I'm pretty sure the Sailor Moon and Mini Moon and Tuxedo Mask are going to be the longest one. But the first, next up will be Pluto and Saturn. So that's what we got for this. I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye. Oh, hush. We're going to be teeny boppers again. Back in high school, it's so exciting. Love letters in your lockers, dates in the library, school festivals, etc., etc.